Alrighty guys, my name is Josh, this is Dark Earth Customs, and welcome back to tonight, where I now have the missing nuts to tighten the cylinder down so we can start torquing everything down. The problem is I don't have a way to torque these. Judging from the spec on my other phone here, let me go ahead and just pull that picture up. It says here the cylinder is supposed to be 24 to 28 foot-pounds. Now, I said last night about a crowfoot. That's what this is. This is a crow's foot. It allows you to extend past the area you're working on. I might be able to get it in there at an angle. Maybe. But I'm not 100% sure if that's going to work. The only way we can do this is to try. Now, I'm hoping that if everything goes according to plan, this engine is going back into the golf cart tonight. Because there's very few things left to do, aside from torquing this stuff down and putting some of the accessories back on, that will limit me from getting this in the golf cart. Because it is October in central Minnesota, and that means right now it's about 45 degrees. I'm not a fan of being in the cold. Actually, in Minnesota this isn't cold, but it takes our bodies a little while to acclimate to it. Now, I'm not a fan of being out here in the chill without heat, and I don't have the heat here yet. So that means trying to get stuff done when there's little to no heat. So, all right, we got the crankcase bolts or nuts in place, and I need an extension. And we're going to try to see if it's possible. That's why they call it crow's foot. See if it's possible at all to get these torqued down in any form. Because it's not looking too good. I might just have to tighten these down and hope for the best. I'm surprised they didn't put in a couple notches here. That would give you a little bit of leeway to tighten these down. But that's what when I talk about engineers, that's what I mean. You know, they can make things work and they can make things run, but they are not always the best at maneuverability of tools. Alright, so I went corner to corner on the other two, and then we're going to go corner to corner on here and bring it down snug. Alright. Yep, that's pretty snug. Well, let's see here if we have the ability to run a torque wrench on this or not. 15, 20, why is this thing being finicky? Last thing I need is a broken torque wrench. That would really cause problems. Alright, so that's 25. And what did I say? 24 to 28. So we're going to do 26. Lock it down. Now let's see if we can get this torque wrench in here. Oh boy, this is going to be a tight fit. Yep. Even with a swivel, I don't think I'm going to get what I need on here. Boy. I just don't think that's going to work. And I don't think I have... I imagine they make longer crow's foots, but... I thought that's what this extension might help me with. Because this will fit in there. Just like that. But then I would need some sort of extension to go like that. And when you start running extension after extension, you start losing your torque values because some of the torque is actually absorbed by the tool itself. But let's see. Maybe I can set it at 28 and then get what I need. Go. Oh, this is so sketch. Maybe if I lay it on its side. Well, that works. So that was 26. So I'm going to go up to 28, 27, 28. Because I have a feeling I'm losing some of the torque yield through the extension. Alright. And I'll flip it over and we're going to do the cross corner now. Okay. I'll come over and do this corner. This is just about the weirdest tool I've ever come up with. And then we'll go back to the other side. I didn't think this was going to get torqued down, but it looks like it just might be getting torqued down. Come on. All right. And we'll check it once again. And this is why people hate engineers. Sorry, engineers, but this is a little beyond ridiculous. All right, one left. Back corner. Why am I having such a hard time getting an angle on this one? All right. So to my satisfaction, those are now all torqued at somewhere between 24 to 28 foot-pounds. Next is the cylinder head. Cylinder head says 17 to 18 foot-pounds. Now this is where, this is a one-time shot. So, because there's different head bolts, like that, I'm going to make sure that it's those three that are part of the engine mount. And I thought I was right, and I was wrong by it's actually wrong in reverse. So that's why it's always good to check. So the way these are supposed to be is that this curve is supposed to be on the other side here. So these two and those two get swapped. These are part of the engine mount. They stupidly, another engineer thing, they stupidly use the head bolts to mount the engine to the golf cart. Who does that? Seriously. I mean, cylinder head's kind of a very intricate part, and to just throw the bolts on there willy-nilly, like oh, we'll just put them here. Is it any wonder that these head gaskets go? Because this is not the first one I've seen. I was actually looking on YouTube and saw other ones where these head gaskets just popped, and it's because there's too much load, too much downforce on the head and the block. Gravity pulls it down, and the only thing holding it in place is these head bolts. It's like trying to make a suspension bridge out in the jungle out of spaghetti noodles. It doesn't work. Alrighty. So now when I look at this, because this is how it sits in the engine, just like that. So that means these three line up with the mounting bracket that's already in place, where it's side, bottom, and mid hole. So that's just right. Alrighty. Just take another look here at it. Yeah, that's right. So let's get these head bolts torqued down. Now the cylinder heads are going to be in the same fashion. Cylinder head bolts, I mean, going to be in the same fashion in a crosshatch, or this way in a star pattern. And the cylinder head is 17 to 18, so let's go ahead and get this set at 18. All right, so that's 20. Drop it down to is 18. And I'm going for the high number on the cylinder head because it's more than obvious that the head is under an incredible amount of strain. And like I said, when you look at it, I'm going to be going in a star pattern. That way, the bolts get tightened down, and there's not one side that's tighter than the other at any point. Alright, and I'm just making sure everything's correct here. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Because once I tighten this down, if I have to take it back off, the gasket's junk. Head gaskets are a one-time use deal. 99% of the time. They are a one-time use deal. There are multi-layer head gaskets. There are multi-layer head gaskets that can be reused. I myself wouldn't do it, but they can be. But most head gaskets can't. A runny nose, 45 degrees up. Start by snugging everything down. Actually, I can just pull this off. Okay. And go across. And then we'll hit this final one on the bottom here. Alright, so everything's snug down. Double check. I'm at 18. So let's go ahead and get these head bolts tightened. Boy, if that ain't the weakest amount of force I've ever tightened something to. All right. Trying to remember where I left off. It wasn't that one. There it is. Okay. And then I should still have the one right at the top here if I remember correctly. Alright, and then we're going to check it. Now that it's down to the amount that it's supposed to be at. Double check the torque wrench. And go for a final pull. And, yep, it reset. Either that or I missed one. Alright, so now that we saw that the second time that they rotated, basically in most cases, unless it says that you're not supposed to, you should always check to make sure that all your bolts are torqued. So those two are torqued. That's torqued. That's good. One in that. And then the other one on the other side. Okay. Head bolts are on. Yeah, I gotta get that fixed. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I kind of, when I was hammering on this, I kind of mushroomed out that flange. And that flange goes through the center of this here. I mean, it's not insanely important because it doesn't do anything, but it does rub, and that's really the last thing I want it to do is rub. So I'm going to get my grinder. I'm going to grind that down and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get this torque down. And that torque number cooling fan is 20 to 24. So, get rid of that. Put that on. Loosen up the lug. Loosen up the torque wrench. All right, 24. This should be fun, trying to get something that turns to torque. Oh yeah, this is where you always run into an issue. Usually you can just maybe wedge something in, but in this case, there's nothing to wedge anything in anywhere without breaking something. And I'm not 100% sure how to torque that one down. I wonder if I can use this the clutch bolt to hold it in place, because 24 foot-pounds really isn't a whole heck of a lot. Of course, it just keeps turning and turning and turning. Well, does this extra nut that I bought work on here? It does not. It's just too small. There is just really no good way to do this. Let me see. All right, now before you guys go crazy with what I'm about to do, this is my golf cart. I fully understand what I'm about to do. So if I damage it, I damage it. I don't see any other option. I'm going to use my vice grip on this side of the crank, but I'm going to be putting the vice grip on a portion of the crankshaft that doesn't slide over the clutch. And because it's only 20-some foot-pounds, I don't expect it to resist too much. There we go. Done. And just to prove to you guys that I didn't do anything, there is, aside from a tiny little scratch right there, there is no marring on that shaft. Now, if I had to do for, like, say 100 foot-pounds, that's a whole different story. That might cause damage, but 24 doesn't. All right, now we're going back to the fan. And as you can see again, there are witness marks here, how the fan was sitting, so I know exactly where it goes, just in case there was any kind of balance to it. Got a little bit of crappy dirt on the inside of the fan blade here. Now the one thing that I did notice here, and I think just to save myself a headache, there is a balance here. So you can see it has the word key written on there. Well, I didn't bother to see which side was the key. And I'm just going to go ahead and loosen this back up, not using the torque wrench, because I want that fan to be sitting exactly where it's supposed to be sitting. And it was. I could have just put it on and took a gamble, but I didn't want to. So there's the key slot right there. So that means the key slot is facing towards me, and the word key will face towards me when I put the fan on. Obviously, there's some sort of internal balance that they have that I'm unaware of, nor do I really care, as long as it goes back together correctly. All right. Take two. Alright, so the word key with the arrow is going to go right here. And it's going to go facing on that way. And then we're going to put these little retaining clips back down. And we're going to go ahead and get these screws put in. I'm not a super big fan of wasting my entire evenings doing stuff, because I do like to relax after work. But now that it's October in Minnesota, I know darn well that there is very little time left to get projects done. Does that mean that I'm going to skip out on stuff over the winter? It's going to depend on the temperature. Videos could slow in the winter, possibly. But if I can find a way to heat just these 3 bays here, I'll keep going. Because a small area like this isn't nothing compared to my big barn. I can't heat my entire barn. There's just no possible way. All right, so that that's a 10. Extension. These don't really need to be tightened down in any particular order. I'm going to do it anyway just because, well, it'll help even things out. So I still have the vice grips on the other side here on the crank. That way I can actually tighten these down. There is no torque value to this. Tight is tight, snug, whatever you want to call it. Then we bend these tabs over against the bolts to keep the bolts in the position they need to stay in. All right. I could really deal with a nice little hammer, but I don't have a little hammer. I don't think. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the screwdriver here and another hammer if I can find one. All right, it looks like all I got is my brass hammer. That'll work. My other hammers are, well, I guess they're over in one of the other buildings that I was working on. Now, will these stop bolts from coming out? Most of the time. As long as they're lined up with an edge, they should keep the bolt from backing out. You go ahead and let go of the one strip there. We'll come down and we'll put this other side in. Fans on. We're getting closer and closer. Closer and closer and closer to being done. Alrighty. Next step, I guess, would be to put this disgusting cover back on. Now, I didn't really do much with this. I suppose I probably should have, but I think maybe I'll just go wire wheel it off and I'll be right. Well, maybe. No, I'll use my bench wheel. I'll be right back. Alright, it's not perfect, but it's cleaner. Did I have to do this? No. The reason I did it was because that gets rid of a lot of the dirt and crap off the surface, and if there is a leak sometime in the future, and it starts leaking in different areas, it'll give me a better chance to know where it's coming from if it's not all filthy, dirty, greasy. And like I said, I've already ground down the tip of this so it's not mushroomed anymore. And this just slides right over there like that. And it's got the 4 bolts that connect to there. I think those are still over on the bench. Alright, now I remember this one here. These 4 are threaded. But this one right here, for some odd reason, had a nut on the other end of it. Now, whether the thread in here is bad or something connects to this, maybe. I don't remember anything connecting to this. So for now, we're just gonna put them down, get this cover on. The only other thing that needs to be torqued is the clutch drive that goes on the other side. So everything else, just snug it up and that'll be that. No, threads in there are okay. I don't know why there's a nut on the other side. I guess we'll find that out maybe. It's been so darn long since I started this nightmare. Figured it would be just an easy job. But she just fought me every step of the way that she could. Okay, so that case cover's on. Now we got these little dog ears that go on here. There are 2 bolts for those. And then we got the engine cover here. Let's go ahead and start by getting these little ears on here. There's one. And 2. Well, 1.5. And 2. And I think where the other screws go is to that case cover there. So let's see here. Yep, just like that. And there's 4 screws there. And then there's 4 on this side. Alright, so let's go ahead and get these first set tightened down. I'm going to use my longer extension. Come hell or high water, this thing is starting tonight. Okay, now on the bottom here where the exhaust is, it looks like there was just 4 bolts that go in there. So that would be these 4. Because I believe the 4 on the other side, there's actually a bracket for. Alrighty. Get these snug down. Of course, I don't have any lights on the cart, so even if I do get it running, I can't drive it. I wouldn't be able to take it out on a test until tomorrow. But that ain't gonna stop me from getting it started. Okay. So now the bottom side of the engine is done. Now we're looking at the top side. All right. Now I know this is where the starter generator goes, and I see there must have been some sort of bracket. Ah, yes. Yep, there's the rest of the bracket there, but that's right. I remember I took this off before I took the engine out so I could access the engine easier. So this doesn't go on until the engine's in. So that leaves putting on the clutch. And maybe I'll drop the fuel pump on. Alright, so I've already had the fuel pump apart. I didn't clean it too much. I'll just take a wire wheel here quick and kind of just get some of the crud off of it. At this point, it's not going to be perfect, just because it's not going to be perfect. All right. So this spacer here went between here and there, and I bought a new O-ring. And this O-ring will just seat right down in that groove. Just give her a good press. Because without a good seal there, there's no suction to make the pump work. And then we have that gasket. Not sure I'm a fan of that O-ring. That O-ring's not sitting as far down as I want it to. Should be a little bit more flush than that. Parts are never what you want. I wonder if I still got the old one. Oh, and it doesn't look like I do. Well, we're gonna have to make this work. And I will have to replace that O-ring, but for now I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make that work by cutting some of that O-ring down. Yeah, it even popped out. It's just not the right size for some reason. And definitely without this, there's no fuel pump. So now I wonder, if I can get away with not using that spacer. I'm not sure why it's even there, but this thing is plastic. I mean, I suppose it might compress enough, but boy, I don't know. We'll try it. We'll try it and get the bolts for that. All right. Now that O-ring just keeps popping right out. Got the wrong O-ring. I don't got a replacement gasket. It'd be a miracle if this fuel pump works. And it was sitting like that, so the line ran into it. And try and hold this O-ring in there so it doesn't pop back out. Whew. That is something else. Now this is a situation where it's going to have to require watching it very carefully, because if any of these parts break, that is the end of the game. So I'm going to sit and watch it go down very slowly. And you'll have to put some light on the subject. And because this is such a big chunk of aluminum, it's helping to compress that ring down. Now, I still don't like the fact that it's the wrong size. But it's down. And it's actually down all the way. It's down all the way in the center and on the sides, so it's not bowing anywhere. So for now, it will work. Will it be coming off and the correct O-ring going on? Yep. And this one I am definitely not cranking on. That will just get snug because it's already under enough tension that I'm surprised it's not broke. Because these ears on the side of this fuel pump, they're a little thinner than I believe they probably should be, but they're holding for now, and that's all that matters. All right, fuel pump's on. So, what we also had here, oh, I think I know why that nut is there. Let me see if I'm right. Yep, look at that, I am. So, this needs to be redone. So that doesn't need to be there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Alright, so, oh, yeah. What am I doing? Alright, let's go ahead and get this bracket on here. I believe these were the bolts that went down in here, but that's a little tight. See if they thread in here or not. Because if they don't thread in here, they're wrong. Yep, okay, well, they are wrong. So while I look for those, I'm not going to hold this up looking for those. I'm just going to go ahead and put that bracket on with the nut, because that's good enough to hold it in place. And get that tightened down. Alrighty, we are getting somewhere. So this doesn't go on until it's in the cart. This doesn't go on until it's in the cart. All the rest of this kit and caboodle doesn't go on until it's in the cart. That leaves the clutch. All right. Now, this clutch, as you can see, there's no keyway on here. It's a completely smooth shaft, but it's conical. That means that the force of the bolt going down on here is what holds it in place. By the way, what did I do with that bolt? The one that I literally just had. Well, I'll be darned. There it is. All right. Now, if I remember right, what do we got going on here? This goes over the shaft, I believe. Yep. Okay. The spring goes in between these two. That goes down and gets compressed. And I believe this, yeah, that is just looks like some sort of collar. Yeah. That collar goes in and keeps the bolt from wobbling around. Okay, so if you remember, when I took this off before, I made a mark. So I scratched a mark into there, and I put a bolt right there to match up with that mark. And when I reviewed the footage, I was right. That's exactly where it's supposed to be. Now, I believe this is also probably balanced, because you can see they have drilled holes from the factory to make sure it's weighted correctly inside and out. So it's got to go back on the same way it came off. So we drop the spring on there. Spring goes on either way. Look for our mark. Take up the bolt. And sit this down. Or fight it down, however you want to say it. Come on. Because I have a feeling that bolt hole is not lined up. Come on. Now I sure hope that's lined up properly. And it is. We're going to get this down and get this torqued into place, and then we're going to put the motor in. I don't remember. It's such a strange, small. You would think there'd be a bigger washer on the outside. But I guess not. Because there's nothing else that goes there. So it's got to be right. Yeah, back that one out. I didn't like the way that felt. This is aluminum after all. Don't want to strip anything out. Or break anything. Alright. We got one more torque value to go. And that is it before we put the motor in. Sorry, engine. Some people are very, how you say, anal, using the words motor and engine. Some people say motors are only reserved for electric motors. This is an engine. Well, whatever. I've been calling it whatever I want for my whole life. So if you're specific on what you want to call something, fine. I'm not. Alright, so crankcase, cylinder head, cooling fan, spark plug, clutch draw bolt. Ooh, 55 foot-pounds. It's not that one. Which, oh, where did I put it? Is it this one? No, it's not that one. That's not the right size. Stop fooling around. Oh, farts. That's not the right size either. Well, what the heck? Alright. Well, while I go get the right size socket for that, I'll be right back.